There's a kind of power that doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention, it pulls it. It doesn't chase influence, it bends it. And when it enters a room, something changes in the air. You felt it before, that heavy silence when a figure walks in, calm, composed, unreadable. They speak little, they move slowly, but every eye, every thought, every heartbeat begins to adjust to their presence. They do not follow the rhythm of the room follows theirs. Machiavelli understood this. He wrote of princes who commanded obedience without needing to lift their voices, men who bent others to their will not through cruelty or noise, but through a presence so calculated, so controlled, that others unconsciously yielded. And yet, this presence cannot be faked. It is not learned from tricks, pickup lines, or shallow confidence games. Because the aura we're speaking of is not painted on the surface. It's forged deep inside, in the silent chambers of the self. It is the product of a man or woman who has mastered their inner kingdom, who has conquered the wild impulses of fear, anger, vanity, and greed, who has turned their emotions into obedient servants instead of chaotic rulers. This is the Stoic secret. The world bends most to those who have first bent themselves into unbreakable form. Most people will never have this kind of power. They chase approval. They get lost in distraction. They explode when provoked. They reveal too much too soon. They build no walls within themselves, so the winds of the world blow through them freely, scattering their focus like ashes in a storm. But a few, a very few, choose a different path. They build fortresses inside. They train their emotions like soldiers. They build silence into their bones and clarity into their eyes. And from that silence, something radiates outward. An invisible gravity, an aura. This is not charisma. This is not charm. This is command. And if you want to walk this path, to build an aura so powerful that people bend around you like iron to a magnet, then understand this clearly. The journey does not begin by learning to control others. It begins by learning to control yourself. Section 1. The aura no one can fake. What is aura? People think it's some mystical glow, some secret trick of body language, some psychological hack. They think it's about dominance postures, expensive suits, cold stares, or clever words. But aura is simpler and far more brutal. Aura is the sum of everything you've mastered and everything you haven't. It's the invisible story your body tells before you open your mouth. It's the unspoken signal of how tightly you hold the reins of your own mind. Look closely at the world. Most people are constantly leaking emotions. They fidget when anxious. They talk too much when insecure. They laugh nervously. They rush their speech. They defend themselves before being attacked. They are like open books in a storm, pages fluttering wildly, their secrets scattered in the wind. But the one with aura is closed. No page is exposed. Their emotions are not running outward. They're contained, like a deep lake with no ripples. This is why the Stoics trained relentlessly in self-observation. They watched their desires, their fears, their anger like a hawk circling above a battlefield. They knew that if they could master their reactions, their presence would become unshakable. Machiavelli, observing rulers and men of influence, noted a similar phenomenon. He understood that power depends on perception, and perception flows from stability. People follow strength, and strength, real strength, is nothing but visible self-mastery. Let me put it plainly. You cannot fake what your nervous system betrays. You cannot fake calmness if your eyes keep darting around the room. You cannot fake confidence if your words are laced with insecurity. You cannot fake mystery if you spill your emotions like a broken jar spilling water on the floor. Aura is forged in solitude. It is built in quiet mornings when no one watches. It's born when you choose discipline over indulgence, stillness over reaction, clarity over chaos. It's formed when you face yourself, your fears, your weaknesses, your impulses, and you wrestle them into submission. You must understand this. Before you can command others, you must become undistractable. Before you can inspire loyalty or fear, you must conquer the inner court of your own mind. Before your presence bends the room, it must bend you. Imagine two men enter a crowded room. The first is loud, smiling too wide, shaking hands too eagerly, trying to fill the air with his words. The second walks in silently. He doesn't rush. He observes. He doesn't seek anyone's approval. His eyes are steady, his movements deliberate. Who do people notice more? Who bends the atmosphere? The first man wants attention. The second man commands it. This is why a Stoic aura is effortless, because it is not performed. It emerges from an inner state of control so real, so stable, that it radiates without effort.
Machiavelli wrote, "Men in general judge more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see, but few can feel." People don't read your intentions. They sense your state. They feel the tension, the stability, the calm, the storm you carry inside. You can't fake that. So if you want to build a powerful aura, start here. Withdraw your energy from performance and redirect it to construction. Construct your mind, construct your emotions, construct your daily rituals. Construct the stillness that cannot be shaken by praise or insult. Because once that construction is complete, your presence will do the talking. You won't need to convince. You won't need to beg. You won't need to act. You will simply be, and the world will bend accordingly. Section 2. The Fortress Within, Emotional Mastery. Power begins within. And within each of us there is either a fortress or a ruin. Some build walls inside themselves, walls of discipline, reflection, and clarity. Others leave the gates open, letting every passing wind of emotion invade and take control. Machiavelli understood something crucial. A ruler who cannot control himself will be controlled by others. He wrote that it is better to be feared than loved, if one can be both. But how can one be feared? How can one command respect if they are slaves to their impulses? Fear and respect do not arise from raw aggression. They arise from predictable strength, the quiet assurance that this person cannot be swayed by threats, praise, or temptation. This is the fortress of emotional mastery. Think of your emotions as wild horses. Anger, fear, desire, envy. They are powerful beasts, capable of carrying you to great heights or dragging you into the mud. Most people hold the reins loosely. One insult and they charge blindly. One temptation and they veer off the path. They are not riders, they are passengers. But the Stoics trained to be riders. They did not kill their emotions, they tamed them. They understood that anger, for example, is a temporary madness, that fear often lies, whispering catastrophes that never come, that desire left unchecked leads to slavery of the worst kind, slavery to one's cravings, that envy is poison disguised as ambition. They built fortresses not of stone, but of reason. And in those fortresses, emotions knocked, screamed, demanded entry, but they entered only when summoned. Imagine this. A man is insulted, publicly. The crowd watches. The insulter smirks, expecting a reaction. The man does not flinch. His face remains calm, his eyes unmoved. The insulter grows louder, desperate to provoke. Still, the man stands silent, like an ancient statue, carved by centuries of storms. In that moment, who holds power? The loud one or the silent one? Power is not measured by how fiercely you react. It is measured by how little control others have over your reactions. The Stoics believed that the only true domain we own is our inner world. Everything else, fame, fortune, status, is subject to the chaos of chance. But emotions? They can be trained. And once trained, they become shields against manipulation. Machiavelli observed that people are quick to betray when a ruler appears weak, emotional, or inconsistent, because emotions make you predictable. Anger can be exploited, fear can be provoked, desire can be baited. But a Stoic man, calm, deliberate, watchful, becomes unreadable. He does not give others the keys to his mind. He chooses when to open the gates. To build this fortress, you must practice 3 things. Self-observation. Watch yourself like a strategist watches enemy movements. Notice when anger rises, when fear whispers, when desire pulls. Awareness is the first wall of defense. Delay reaction. Do not give emotions the steering wheel. Take a breath. Let the fire burn inside without letting it escape. The Stoics often said, between stimulus and response, there is power. That space is where your fortress is built. Ritual discipline. Emotional mastery is not won in sudden battles, but daily habits. Morning reflection, evening review, Stoic journaling, practicing discomfort. These rituals train the mind like a soldier trains the body.
You see, when the fortress within is solid, external chaos becomes irrelevant. Insults bounce off, temptations lose their grip, manipulators find no handles to pull. Machiavelli would say, this makes you dangerous. Stoicism would say, this makes you free. And between danger and freedom lies true power. Section 3. Silence, the sharpest weapon. There is a weapon sharper than any blade, feared by kings and manipulators alike. It is not a sword. It is silence. Silence is power because it is rare. Most people fill every space with noise, opinions, explanations, defenses, nervous chatter. They cannot tolerate silence because silence exposes them to themselves. But those who master silence bend situations like iron under heat. Machiavelli understood the political power of silence. He observed that the less a ruler reveals, the more unpredictable and feared he becomes. If your enemies cannot read you, they cannot predict you. If they cannot predict you, they cannot control you. He wrote, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." This was not cynicism for its own sake. It was a reminder that words bind you. But silence binds no one. The Stoics too valued silence, but for deeper reasons. For them, silence was a way to conserve inner energy. Every unnecessary word is a door left open for emotion to escape. Every explanation, every overreaction, every nervous laugh leaks power. Marcus Aurelius once wrote to himself, "You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control." Silence is the manifestation of that principle. It is the refusal to give the external world your energy. Picture 2 scenarios. Scenario 1. Someone attacks your reputation in public. You rush to defend yourself, speaking rapidly, justifying, explaining, trying to clear your name. The more you speak, the more defensive you appear. Scenario 2. Someone attacks you in public. You say nothing. You watch them calmly. The crowd shifts uncomfortably. They expected a fight. Instead, they meet a wall of silence. In which scenario do you appear more powerful? Silence has a way of amplifying your presence, because when you stop talking, others start thinking. They fill in the blanks. They project strength, mystery, even fear into the void you leave. Machiavelli exploited this psychological fact. He advised rulers to speak only when necessary and to keep their true intentions hidden behind masks of ambiguity. This made others cautious, uncertain, pliable. The Stoics, on the other hand, saw silence as a way to master the self. When you are silent, you stop reacting. When you stop reacting, you start observing. And when you observe, you gain control. Silence, when combined with emotional mastery, becomes a force field. It shields you from provocations. It unsettles manipulators who feed on reactions. It draws respect from observers who sense your calm gravity. And here's the subtle truth. The world is noisy. In a noisy world, silence is not emptiness, it is dominance. But silence is not mere muteness, it is strategic withholding. You must know when to speak and when to let silence work for you. Speak when words sharpen your edge. Be silent when words would dull it. A ruler who speaks too much loses mystique. A leader who explains everything loses authority. A warrior who reveals his every move is easily defeated. But the one who watches quietly, who listens longer than he talks, he is feared, respected, remembered. To cultivate this weapon, train yourself to delay responses. Don't fill gaps immediately. Let silence stretch. It will make others reveal more. Listen with intensity. Make people feel seen, not by talking, but by watching. Speak less, say more. Choose words like a swordsman chooses strikes. Every sentence should cut. In Stoic philosophy, silence is both shield and mirror. It shields you from the chaos of others, and it mirrors back the truth of their character. When you say little, people expose themselves trying to fill the void. Their words betray their insecurities, their desires, their fears. Meanwhile, you remain unreadable. Machiavelli knew that a prince who cannot be read cannot be controlled. The Stoics knew that a mind that cannot be disturbed cannot be conquered. Both paths converge into one truth. Silence is a throne. Sit upon it and watch the world reveal itself.
Section 4. The Theater of Control, Presence, and Behavior. The world is a theater. Every interaction is a stage. And whether you accept it or not, you are always performing. But here's the difference between the powerless and the powerful. The powerless perform unconsciously, driven by impulses, reactions, and the desperate hunger for approval. The powerful, they perform with control. Their presence is deliberate. Their behavior is their chosen weapon. Machiavelli understood this better than most. He observed rulers who projected calm when surrounded by chaos, strength when facing betrayal, confidence when the walls were crumbling. He knew that power is not only what you possess, but what others believe you possess. And people believe what they see. The Stoics trained their presence through daily discipline. They knew that body, voice, and behavior were extensions of the mind. A distracted mind leaks through fidgeting fingers, darting eyes, rushed speech. A stable mind radiates through slow movements, steady gaze, controlled tone. This is what I call the theater of control. Every step you take, every word you speak, every silence you hold, these are scenes in the play of power. And the audience, whether they are strangers, friends, or rivals, will judge the play by the way you carry your role. Consider this. When a lion walks into a clearing, it doesn't roar constantly to prove its power. It moves slowly, deliberately. Its presence alone rearranges the behavior of every animal around it. The deer freeze. The birds fall silent. The air changes. Why? Because the lion embodies power through presence. This is what you must cultivate. Your body language should speak of self-possession. Your gaze should not wander nervously. It should land with intention. Your voice should not tremble with insecurity. It should resonate with calm weight. And most importantly, your actions must match your silence. If you say little, but your movements are scattered, your power dissolves. But if your silence is paired with measured control, your presence becomes magnetic. This does not mean becoming robotic or fake. It means becoming intentional. Every gesture is chosen, not leaked. Every reaction is filtered, not spilled. This is why the Stoics practice discomfort, stillness, fasting, cold exposure, not to torture themselves, but to train their bodies and minds to obey. Because a person who cannot command their own posture, tone, and presence cannot command the respect of others. Machiavelli would say, men in general judge more by the eye than by the hand. The Stoics would reply, then let what the eye sees be worthy of command. Think of presence as your atmosphere. Some carry a chaotic atmosphere, nervous, scattered, easy to push around. Others carry a heavy, controlled atmosphere, like walking into a room where the air thickens, time slows, and eyes are drawn instinctively. This is not magic. This is training. The aura of power is the visible surface of invisible discipline. When you master the theater of control, people begin to adjust themselves around you, not because you force them, but because your presence silently organizes the space. Section 5. Bending people without words. Psychological gravity. There's a strange phenomenon in nature. Massive objects bend space around them, pulling other objects into their orbit. The larger the mass, the stronger the gravitational pull. Humans are not planets, but minds with great discipline behave like massive objects. They bend the psychological atmosphere around them. They pull people, not through tricks or manipulation, but through gravity. Machiavelli observed this in princes who held court without needing to shout. People came to them, sought their approval, adjusted their behavior, vied for their attention. Why? Because these rulers were centers of control in a world of chaos. This is what you become when you master emotional fortresses, strategic silence, and deliberate presence. You become the center of gravity in the room. People begin to mirror your behavior unconsciously. They lower their voice if yours is calm. They slow their speech if yours is deliberate. They watch you before making their next move, like planets checking their trajectory around a star. This is not manipulation. This is natural dominance. Because in a world where most people are lost in emotional storms, the one who stands still becomes the axis around which others rotate. Stoicism provides the inner mass. Emotional mastery gives you stability. Silence gives you mystery. Presence gives you weight.
Machiavelli provides the external strategy. Control perception. Reveal little. Make others dependent on your steadiness. Together, they create psychological gravity, an aura that bends the behavior of others without needing to command. Think of historical figures who commanded rooms without raising their voices. Marcus Aurelius sat among senators, many of whom conspired against him, and yet his calm moral weight
bent the Senate's behavior. Julius Caesar often walked silently into tense gatherings, and the room would shift. Modern examples exist too. Leaders, thinkers, even quiet individuals who carry themselves with such self-mastery that their mere presence alters the environment. This is the secret. You do not need to chase influence. You must become so stable, so disciplined, so inwardly massive that influence begins to orbit you naturally. Psychological gravity is not something you turn on. It is something you become. And once you become it, you realize something profound. The power you sought outside was always waiting inside. Section 6. The final transformation. Becoming the storm. We began with a question. How does someone build an aura so powerful it bends people to their will? The answer is not found in shallow tactics, not in manipulative tricks, fake confidence, or loud displays. The answer lies in the silent, relentless, unglamorous work of self-mastery. Machiavelli gives us the map of external influence. Stoicism gives us the blueprint of inner control. When combined, they produce something rare, almost mythical, a presence that commands without needing to control. The path, however, is not easy. You must face the chaos within before the world recognizes your gravity. You must build the fortress brick by brick, taming your anger, dissecting your fears, cooling your desires, accepting discomfort, training silence, refining presence, standing still in storms. You must become the kind of person who doesn't need to shout to be heard, the kind who doesn't need to prove because their existence proves itself. And understand this well. When you truly master yourself, the world responds differently. People become careful with their words around you. They sense something, a weight, a silence, a discipline. They cannot quite name it, but they feel it. Some will be drawn to you. Others will envy you. Some will fear you. Many will try to test you. And you will stand unmoved, like a mountain in a storm, because your power does not come from their reactions. It comes from the throne you've built within. This is what Machiavelli hinted at when he wrote of princes who bend others to their will. And this is what the Stoics lived when they faced emperors, mobs, and fate with unshakable calm. You do not need to become a tyrant. You do not need to dominate through cruelty. You need to become a force of silence, a force of reason, a force of presence, a force of emotional discipline so rare it rearranges the air around you. Becoming the storm means this: you no longer react to the world reacts to you. You no longer chase influence. Influence orbits you. You no longer beg for power. You become power. So when you step into a room next time, walk slowly. Observe more than you speak. Let silence breathe. Hold your emotions like a sword sheathed, not to show off, but to be ready. Let your presence be heavy with unseen discipline. And watch. Watch as the room subtly shifts. Watch as conversations slow, eyes turn, behavior changes. Not because you demanded it, but because your gravity bent it. Final words. The world belongs to those who command themselves, those who bend their emotions, their impulses, their presence into weapons of quiet power. Machiavelli showed us how people follow strength. The Stoics showed us how to become that strength. This is the path of the few, the path of the lion in the clearing, the mountain in the storm, the silent ruler whose aura bends the will of others, not through deception, but through unshakable mastery. Walk this path.
and let the world bend.